Hello and welcome to my video tutorial on joining the end to the beginning using sewings in Bobbin Lace. So let's begin. You'll see in order to demonstrate this, I've just worked a simple little torchon ground square, and I've pushed in most of the pins as we go. So if you were making a much bigger piece, you might not have the pins kept in the whole thing, but you would certainly need to keep several rows of pins in at the beginning and towards the end. So I'm going to go ahead now and push in these ones at the end, and that just makes it easier to work. I'm going to leave these ones, the last row, standing though. Okay, now to do this, we're going to need a Lazy Susan. You can use a Lazy Susan, or if you prefer, you can use a crochet hook. I prefer to use a Lazy Susan to sew the end to the beginning, so that's what I'll be using. Okay, so now we move across the pairs that we're not ready to work with just straight away. So we've just got the pair that we want. Now, when we're doing the sewings, we're looking for where the threads would have continued to just keep making the lace around. So in this instance, it's this pin here. So I'll just lift it out and set it aside for the moment. Then I take my Lazy Susan and I'm going to insert it into that hole where the pin was and pull it back to create a loop. I like to just use a pin to help me pull it all through. Okay, there we are. We've created a loop, and we're going to pass one of, in this instance, I'm going to do the right hand one. I'm not sure whether it matters whether you do the right or the left, as long as you're just consistent the whole way through. Okay, so now I'm going to pull that up to make a loop there and pass the other bobbin through it, and then pull it down. Now, before you do anything else, you need to put your pin back in its hole, in its spot, so that you've got something to tension against. Okay, so I'm going to tie a knot with, or perhaps I just realized that's not on screen, so I'll just shorten that up for you a little, so you see if that helps. Hopefully I can still tie a knot with the thread short. Generally you would lengthen them out a bit, but for the purpose of you being able to see what I'm doing, so we're going to tie a knot and we're going to pass the left bobbin over the right one. So left bobbin over right, and pull up tight next to the pin. Just give it a little gentle tug if it needs it, but not so tight that you're going to snap the thread. Okay, and then I'm going to push that pin in and its corresponding pin on the other side in, and we're just going to set them aside. Whoops, it's caught there. Okay, and we're going to do the exact same thing to the next pin here. So we take the pin out, we put the Lazy Susan, or you could use the fine crochet hook if you prefer, through, create a loop, oh, I must be pulling it the wrong way. Sometimes you catch the wrong one and it doesn't want to come up. Okay, I think I've got it there. Pass the right hand of the pair through and create a loop that, if I can just get it open, there we are, we will pass the other one through. Okay, and then we return our pin to the hole so we don't lose our shape, and I'm just going to do the first half of our knot left over right. Just be careful, sometimes it does like to catch on the other pins around, so just be aware of that, so you don't want to end up with a big loop in your work at the end. Okay, and then just set that aside, and then the same for here. I'll just push those in so it's easier to work around them. Put the Lazy Susan through the pinhole. Oh, just sometimes can be a bit tricky pushing it up, navigating the other pins in place. But you do need to have other pins in place, particularly for several rows at the beginning and end of your piece, or it's way too easy to pull everything out of shape, which we absolutely don't want. So, okay, now we just pull that through again. Open up the loop and pass the other one of the pair through. Replace the pin and tie the first half of our knot. Okay. Now, I've only tied the first half of the knot because I have a confession to make. Sometimes I just do the whole knot. But when I was first taught to do this, I was told to do the half knot for a start. And then that way you can check that you haven't pulled anything out of shape as you're going. You can make sure you're happy with the tension of everything and that it looks good before you go ahead and tie the other half of the knot. Now we went left over right last time, so this time we're going to go left under right to do the other half of our knot. And then we're going to set that aside. Okay, so we went left over before, so now it's left under. So the important thing here is just to be consistent in what you do so that it all looks even and the same in the end. Okay, so whoops, I nearly went the wrong way. No, that is right. Confusing myself. Okay, it really doesn't matter if you muck it up for one or two. The lace police are not going to come after you, but just do try to be consistent if you can, okay, and set it aside. Okay, now we come to this one. You can see it has two pairs feeding into one. You have options here. You could do what we've just done to the previous spots. You could just do it twice over and use the pinhole twice, but I find that looks a bit bulky. So what I do, I don't know if this is strictly correct and what is traditionally done. I have no idea, but it's what I've worked out that I do, and it works for me. Okay, so I'm going to take out, just push those pins in again. So I'm going to take out this pin so I can get at the hole. I'm going to make my loop. It's a little bit wobbly here because it's on the edge, but that's okay. This is why we just work carefully. Now I'm going to pass the right hand one from the pair that's immediately there through, and I'm going to pull up my loop as we've done with the other ones, and then instead of passing the left hand one, because I've got two pairs here, I'm going to pass the right hand of the next pair through this loop, but make sure you lay it back down in its position over here and don't get, it's a little bit confusing. If you find this too confusing, just use the hole twice and do 2 knots. Okay, so now we have to find the hole again to put our pin back in, and now we're safe to do a bit of tensioning. Okay, now I'm still going to tie 2 knots, but they're going to be in the original pairs they were, but this I just find that this creates a lot less bulk than if you use the hole twice. So that's the first half of the knot on that pair, the first half of the knot on this pair, and then that's looking good. So I'll come back and do the second half now. Which way did I go before? Should be left under now, I think. Okay, and left under. Okay, so that is the sewings part done. What comes next? Well, you have a choice. You can either cut the threads off up close to the work, being careful not to snip your work, and leave it at that if you're happy with that. It all depends what it is you want out of the piece, how much extra work you're prepared to do, and what's going to look good in the end and be the best for the purpose of your piece of lace. So often for things like ornaments or even dollhouse lace, I have a tendency to just snip it off close and neatly if I'm able to do that. But if it's going to be obvious and not look good, then what you want to do is some darnings. So what you would do is you would lengthen the threads on the bobbin, snip them off, and then I'm not going to demonstrate it now, but just talking you through what you might want to do. And then you can take the lace off the pillow and use a needle. I find you get a much neater job though if you use a curved needle. Now, to get this curved needle, I took a straight one and ran it through candle flame and gently bent it, because I haven't been able to find any needles for sale that are fine enough for this job. So having done that, you would just leave your work on the pillow, attach the thread, thread it through the needle, and then just gently darn back a stitch or two. You don't need to go super far, and then you can carefully snip it off, and it'll be finished, and it'll be neat, and it'll look lovely. Okay, so that's basically it. Let me know if you have any other requests for tutorials. I'd love to help, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.